Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given. Together, we have the same mission. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. In your hearts are inscribed the values of service, sacrifice, and devotion. Now you must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. It is why our currency proudly declares, "In God we trust." And it's why we proudly proclaim that we are one nation under God. The story of America is the story of an adventure that began with deep faith, big dreams, and humble beginnings. The next generation of American leaders never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit. Never quit. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward. And always have the courage to be yourself. America is better when people put their faith into action. Pray to God and follow His teachings. Today, each of you begins a new chapter as well. When your story goes from here, it will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. As long as you have pride in your beliefs, courage in your convictions, and faith in God, then you will not fail. As long as America remains true to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its Creator, then our best days are yet to come. bless the class of 2017. May God bless you. And I just want to let you know that God blesses you. And I want to just say, you are special in every way. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm calling the angels down. I'm storming the gates of hell. Tell the devil he don't own my soul. I'm taking back what the enemy stole. I'm raising the battle cry. I'm holding the banner high with the power of the Holy Ghost. I'm taking back what the enemy stole.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Back to Light. We got Jim O'Connor with us again. And today, Jim, we're going to discuss 2020.
Sounds like a plan.
I feel like we're going to be having disclosure soon. There's a lot of things going on, and we just want to be ready, right? We want to be ready, and then we also want to be ready enough for when people come to us, because they're going to get their awakening process so much faster than we were able to, how we got it like drips and drabs and years maybe, right? And some people are going to just be like overnight, they just have to come to grips with reality.
Well, that's going to be really hard for some people, and we both have some ideas on things that'll help them.
Yeah. And one of the things is things that you can do for yourself, which would be grounding, right? Going for a walk. Look at Jim's beautiful beach behind him. I would love to be walking on that beach, just being in nature and just being in oneness, and learning how to go within for yourself so you can find that peace within. So when the world goes a little chaotic, you don't lose it as well. And you can stay steady, and you can be that foundation for others if they're looking for you. What are some things you think, Jim, people can do?
Well, first off, I love to ground, and I ground every day. And I'm here not far from Miami. You can tell I'm right on the water, and feet in the sand is a great way to ground. Well, when I'm back home in Virginia, I go barefoot on the grass for 20 minutes, and I sit and I'll read a book, or I'll meditate, or I'll listen to a great podcast like from Respect, or Back to Light, and or my Rumble channel, and I'll just enjoy just chilling out and letting my feet and Mother Earth meet, because I understand that that's where a transfer of energy comes from. I get it in from Mother Earth and out of me. And it may sound kind of funny and kind of crazy. It's not very expensive. That's for sure. It's, the best things in life are free, but I always feel better after about a 20-minute session of barefoot on the ground.
I love that.
And that, as long as you have feet and there's ground, you can do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be sand. It's just feels better when it's sand sometimes. No, but grass is cool. I like it. And I like to get to the garden too.
Yeah, grass is cool. This time of day, the sand is pretty hot. So
I started to do grounding in the snow. And I was very happy that I could do that, because I used to suffer from Raynaud's, and I couldn't even touch ice. I was always with a glove. Everybody always made fun of me, call me Michael Jackson, because I always had one glove, or I had a napkin wrapped around everything. I was always so cold, and my body just couldn't regulate itself. And now I ground in the snow.
That's pretty cool.
Beautiful experience, and to be able to do that, I'm happy. So if you are in the snow, you can still ground. It might be a little cold. It might hurt at first, but you'll get used to it.
It's amazing that ice therapy is always a good thing. I like to do ice therapy on my knees. So I don't want to be that far into the snow when I'm grounding, because that'd be a little hard to get used to. But in all seriousness, grounding is a great thing. And so many of us wear rubber-soled shoes. And if you wear leather-soled shoes and you're on the natural earth and not on, asphalt or cement, you can still ground with your shoes on because the leather doesn't block the transmission of energy, but rubber does.
And they have all these synthetic things that keep us from our connection, even our clothing.
Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should hit the ground all natural, especially if you're someplace like Central Park, because you'll get a visit to Bellevue that way. But just your bare feet will suffice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not everybody knows what Belleville is, or Bellevue, excuse me, but it's a place they lock people up and they give them these special white coats
Yeah. And
that
treatments.
Napoleon the 14th talked about. Remember that song?
I do not.
Oh, it's a scream. The lyrics are, "They're coming to take me away."
Oh, okay. Yes, yes. You can sing it if you want, Jim.
Well, if I sing it, we won't have any viewers.
We're trying to keep it light and trying to keep the levity in it because we do understand the severity and the seriousness of this topic. So we're trying to bring it to you in a different way because we've lived through it, right? We lived through 2020 and we were talking about this a little bit backstage that we learned who our friends were, right, Jim? We learned who
Oh,
was
yeah.
at the stake and you made a comment.
Yeah, we learned who our friends were, who we could count on, and
Who would have
And,
turned us in or turned their
yeah, who
backs.
knows? Yeah, there's nothing like having a hard time to find out that some of the people you thought were your best friends are really just posers.
Yeah. And that's why we created this community because we want people to know that they're not alone, right? So we have a bunch of different things that we do. We have our community in Telegram, and we also have meetups that we do through News Treason where it's broken out into states and territory. And once you get in there, you can talk and figure out where you guys all are because we don't know. So we just get you into your area and then you figure it out. But it was created because we wanted to make sure people didn't feel alone, and especially in these times. And we want somebody to you can go to and talk with. And all of these people that have been coming through and telling us that they've met, they talk for hours. They're like, I haven't talked to someone in so long, and it just feels like I lost my long lost, soul brother or sister, and they're just so connected. And they talk forever. And the waitresses come over and they're all like, oh my God, how long you guys know each other? Like, we just met. That's what keeps happening. So get around people that you love and that love you, and just the people that didn't make it through, well, maybe you elevate it out.
Well, there's nothing like a difficult time to, in some respects, divide the world. The world got divided between people who vaxxed and people who ran away from vax like it was poison. Now, no matter what you think about that, there are very few people that had a great deal of respect for the person who made the other decision, which is really unfortunate because no matter what good or bad decisions we make, if we're really friends, we're supportive. And, it's a shame that divide and conquer was their goal. And they divide us by race, they divide us by gender, they divide us by age groups, they divide us by how much money we make. They're constantly trying to divide us, and they're really putting it to us in a really bad, ugly way every time they divide us.
Well, every time they compartmentalize us, it's another way to say, I'm different than you. So, this doesn't work. This energy is off, or it's horrible. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I
I'll be the
just go
first.
back to when we were kids, we were friends with everybody,
Yeah.
We had Boy George. We loved everybody, like everybody's putting all these labels and all this craziness and saying that we're full of hate and all this. And it's like, wait, what? Because I didn't want to put some poison in my body. I'm full of hate. Okay. It is what it is.
Well, it's really kind of screwy when it's my body and my choice, except when it comes to medical care.
Yeah.
Um, that's exactly when it should be my body, my choice. Now, when I was in the Army, and I'm a 20-year veteran, I was forced to take some shots so I could go to the Gulf War. They gave us 13 vaccines at once. And some of us got sick, and I was one of those poor saps that got sick. And because I got sick, they gave me a medicine laced with a cancer virus. This was 30 years ago. And in the next few months, I'll get a nice cash settlement because we're suing the crap out of the company, one of the companies that made vaccines that did this to us 30 years ago. Imagine what they can do now
Right.
with all those increases in technology. And, men and women have been evil for a long time. Read the book of Micah, written about 1,000 years before Jesus, and you'll see child trafficking and crooked judges and illegal laws and all sorts of bad stuff, especially in chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 5, they talk about the birth of the Messiah in Bethlehem, that Micah. And the only thing that's changed is the technology. And human beings are social. 6 feet is 4 cubits. 4 cubits is the distance we were supposed to keep from a leper.
And that's our heart space. So they
Yeah.
were keeping us away from connection in our heart and our love. And it was getting more and more angry and more disconnected. And
Lower and lower vibration too.
yeah, it was for me, it was horrendous because I love to be around people, and I did not realize how much I was out of the house until that happened. Because I would always go to networking events and I would always go away for conventions and this and that. And I was like, my life just went, it just stopped. And
Yeah,
then,
a lot of people did.
yeah.
And
But then some people loved it because they hate people. They hate being around a lot of people. And they're like, this is my life. But yeah, it was a crazy time. You definitely did see who would stand by your side.
yeah, during my late wife was a dialysis patient, and she was forced to take one of the kill shots. She didn't know it was a kill shot at the time. And she lived exactly 6 days from the time she got her vaccine. And she had a total brain bleed out where half of her brain was in 3/4 of her skull. The other half of her brain was crushed. And her brainstem disconnected. That's how she died. And it was all because of the COVID-19 shot. And I know some people will say that's a conspiracy. Well, you can say whatever you want.
You lived it. Yeah.
We all lived it. We all had different experiences. And the world hasn't been as healthy before COVID as it has been since before COVID. There are a lot more people dying, a lot more young kids with dementia, Alzheimer's, heart disease, kidney disease. There are a lot more people dying than there ever died per year, even in wartime. And it's really hard to deal with this because we all love people.
Yeah.
And some people are more lovable than others. I get that. But they're still people. And one of the things that helps me cope with all this is I spend time in prayer and meditation every day. And when I ground and I meditate, or I ground and I pray, I have that much deeper connection with God. And I call the God I pray to is Jesus. I'm not going to deny Jesus because it's politically correct. I'm going to tell you that that's what works for me. I'm not you, but you should find what works for you. And I believe in my heart that Jesus can work for everybody, but that's not up for me to decide anybody else but me. And I would encourage you all to ground every day, get your rest, get your exercise, eat as healthy and organic as you can, drink the cleanest water you can, and uh, and spend time talking to the Creator, who I call Jesus. And with that, you're off to a good start in life. And then, you know, I have a good couple of good friends who are Italian, and I like that every once in a while, a kid with them, one hand washes the other. But that's a true statement. But you don't have to keep your enemies closer. You can just live with your friends. Screw your enemies. Just leave them alone. Don't even think they exist in many respects, because all that does is bring you down and bring you down into hate. You don't need to be in hate. You need to be in love. Love is what really makes the world go round. So keep your enemies far away from you as you can, and give your attention to your loved ones and your friends, because they're the people that really matter to you.
Yeah. And they'll be the ones that'll help you through anything you go through because they've
Yeah,
been.
and remember, one hand washes the other. When they're helping you, they're helping themselves. When you're helping them, you're helping yourself. How how do you help yourself when you're helping somebody else? Your heart grows better, more and more in love with God, and more in love with God's children. That's always got to be a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are five stages of grief that we all go through, and anybody that's ever gone through grief understands that grief is a real bitch. And I'm trying to keep it as clean as I can, but having gone through this a few times myself, I understand just how much fun this isn't.
Yeah.
And the first stage is denial, and it's just not a river in Egypt. It's, I can't believe this happened. No, this couldn't have happened. No, 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 no. That's denial. And then when we're feeling so crappy that we don't want anybody to see us, that's isolation. So the first stage is denial and isolation. And this is because we're just so hurt. Our guts are kind of, in a way, ripped right out of us. This happens with the death of a spouse, or the breakup of a marriage, or the loss of a boyfriend or girlfriend that you were totally crazy about, or the death of a parent
Or a pet.
or a pet. And
Friendship.
I've been around 70 plus years, and believe me, I've seen my parents go, my aunts and uncles go, some of my cousins who are younger than me go, and I lost a kid in a miscarriage. So. And probably the thing that really hurt me the most was losing my wife. And it just rips right at you. And there's a guy I know named Mark who's a veteran like me, and he's right. He wrote me yesterday that losing a spouse is more difficult than being in war. Imagine that. And I know, Kat, you lost your father not that long ago, and back then I was just an acquaintance, and it hurt me to see how hurt you were.
Yeah.
And the hurt that we feel is all natural, and we can't deny it. We have to accept the fact that it hurts like hell, because that's the healthy response. Yeah, we want a cocoon, and we don't want any trouble. We just want to, wake up tomorrow and everything be better. That's part of it. Then there's the second stage, which is anger. A lot of people get really mad at God. God, how could you do this to me? God just took one of the people you love the most your whole life, and took them to heaven and you're pissed at them. You know, if, I could see if they took that person to hell, you might be a little upset. But God doesn't do that. He takes people to heaven. And then we get mad at the person. How could you leave me? I got all these bills I got to pay. I got to clean this house by myself. Well, I got to take care of the dog now, or whatever baloney thing, we make up out of intense anger, not thinking clearly, which is why I'm giving you all these ridiculous examples, because I understand what that's like.
Yeah.
I got to cook this all for myself and I got to eat by myself now because you're not here. I'm pissed at you. How could you leave me? Those are very natural things. And we can go from anger back into denial and isolation, because just because you go to the next stage doesn't mean you won't backslide into the previous stage. Then there's the bargaining. Oh, bargaining. God, if you fix this for me, I'll never, and then fill in the blanks. And that's never going to happen. I mean, you can bargain all you want, but, it isn't going to change anything. And the sooner you realize that, you're being totally ridiculous in bargaining, but it's part of the process that you go through. And then you can get pissed because nobody's listening to your bargain, or your bargain isn't good enough. You can get as pissed as you want, but it isn't changing anything.
Yeah.
And then you realize after a while you go into stage 4, which is depression. I've done all this anger, all this bargaining, and it hasn't gotten me anywhere. I'm exhausted. Oy vey. What the hell is going on here? No, I'm not really Jewish, but I know some of the words. And I love the Old Testament. And I am probably the most Jewish Orthodox guy you'll ever meet, Orthodox Christian you'll ever meet. It's so important to understand that after this, you're emotionally beat up, you're emotionally tired, you're probably physically tired, you're worn out, you're going to feel kind of like what I call a frog day. Instead of fully relying on God, you're dragging your ass like a frog, because nobody drags their ass like a frog when a frog is moving forward. And, every step is hard. It gets hard. You can take some medicine for it, but it isn't going to help you face the issue. And you can go from depression back to bargaining, back to anger, back to isolation, and just keep yourself on a terrible, terrible merry-go-round. Or you can take good care of your body, ground, meditate, pray, eat well, exercise well, turn it around physically, and accept the fact that your life is different and that it's always going to be different, and you can learn lessons. And if it's the death of a loved one, if you live really well and get to heaven, you'll be with your loved one again. And if they went to the other place, you don't want to join them.
The other thing is also allowing in that space to go through these steps and not being in anger for or with them, right? Allow them, just be there for love, and they're going to, and another thing also is not holding them in that space and saying that these people are going to take so long to go through this or heal or this or that. Allow them to go through the stages they need to go through at the time and the space that they need, and just hold that space for them. Because we want people to just get better really quick, right? Or we want people to feel as maybe, not that we want them to, but maybe we are putting it in our head that they're going to feel like this because that's how we went through it. So we put a time limit on it, right? We put that limitation on that energy that we're going to keep them in a box kind of. So allow them to go through the stages, allow them to, just express what they're going through, and encourage the release, encourage them to cry, because that is healing. Once you cry, you're moving through the process. When you hold it all in, and you try to be tough and you try to just hold it, you're just hurting yourself and you're hurting your healing.
Absolutely, great point. And since we're all just a little bit different, which is really good, there's no one size that fits all. But the one thing that we can do that's very common, and I know women understand this much better than men, and I don't mean to be sexist about it, but the more you validate somebody's feelings, the more you help them. No matter what happens, none of us can bring the person back or any of those type of things, but we can validate that losing someone we love so much hurts. We can validate that, yeah, we all get mad at God every once in a while. I mean, the opposite, some people think that love and hate are opposites. Love and hate are both very, very intense emotions. Apathy is the opposite in many ways. And God understands that you might be mad at him. But, as a pastor, I got to say, God knows a lot more than we do. So one of the things that helped me not be so mad at him was that I realized that he took my wife at the point in her life where she was most likely to go to heaven. And, that was the best for her. And if you really love someone, you want what's best for them.
Absolutely.
That takes a little bit of a leap of faith, but in some respects, we can't prove anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of the mathematical proofs that 1 and 1 is equal to 2, and sometimes, depending on what assumptions they make, you can prove that it's true and you can prove that it's not true. And have equally good logic. I think it's a little weird to spend all that brain power on such a thing. Who cares if 1 and 1 equals 2 or doesn't equal 2? But if you can tell me who's going to win the next Super Bowl and be 100% right, I'll listen and excuse me while I go to Vegas for a few minutes. I might as well not get poor because I have this information. But in all kidding aside, we're going to be on an emotional roller coaster because grief is very emotional. And it's really hard to deal with it. That's why it's so bad. And that's why it's so life-changing. But if we have friends that help validate our feelings, they are helping us. If sometimes the thing that every person needs more than anything else is a hug or a pat on the back. Or, you're right, that's awful, can be a validating statement that really helps someone. Yeah, it is awful.
And that's something else I want to bring up. So many times telling your story to someone and they always want to one-up them. Don't one-up people. Let them have their experience without you saying, well, mine's worse. So then we get into this pissing contest of whose life is worse, and then we're all not going anywhere. So let them have that space. And then instead of telling them how crappy you felt, say, I understand what you're going through, but this is how it's changed for me. Right. And you give them that light rather than giving them your darkness.
Yeah. And understand, this is really hard for men. You can't fix it. Us men, we like to save the women with our Mr. Fix-It hat. It's part of our DNA. And Mr. Fix-It doesn't help someone in grief. Mr. Listen and Validate helps someone in grief. Mr. Fix-It doesn't help.
And we were talking a lot about grief of loss of someone, but I think for 2020, a lot of it was loss of self, loss of your identity. Everything that we had our lives based around was kind of just taken in a flash. And it's just like, that's not who you are now. Right.
Yeah.
So people are going through that kind of grief and trying to reinvent themselves. And I want to talk about that, Jim. I want to talk about the good things. So what good things came from 2020? I think a lot of people are understanding that family matter and that work is work. And I knew a lot of people that were like diehard work fanatics who are just like, I don't want to go to work anymore. I'd rather work from home. And just to see that exchange, was pretty cool because they didn't know what they were missing until they had it.
Well, one of the things I've noticed is the traffic jams are nowhere near as bad, which is a good thing because people are working from home. Fathers are spending more time with their kids, which is good for the fathers and good for the kids. The working mothers are spending more time at home. Mothers work their asses off, so nobody works harder than the mothers because they do two or three jobs: their wife, their mother, and they're an employee. And I know this is a little off topic, but the people that designed that system to get the mother out of the home, all they wanted was more tax dollars,
That's right.
and they want to control your children faster. And
It almost worked.
their internal documents say that.
Yeah.
But back on topic, when you learn who your true friends are, and you spend more quality time with your loved ones, your life is better. And that's one of the things that came out of this. I'll be honest, I didn't accept the jab. And I don't want anybody telling me what I have to do to my body. It's my body, it's my choice. It might not be much of a body, but it's the only one I have. And I'm doing really well for a man my age. It's still technically a cancer patient. And I don't really want to cut off the oxygen supply to my brain so I can not get a virus that may or may not hurt me. The lack of oxygen in my brain will hurt me. And I don't really need anybody disrespecting my decision to take care of myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, you're not going to pay my medical bills. I am. You're not going to feel the pain that's in my back or my backside or wherever I hurt. I am. It's my body, my choice. And I think we all need to, like Mark would say, respect
Yes.
each other's opinions.
That was one of the, when I was saying I didn't want to do this, right? It's like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not this, I'm not that. And I was told that I was being political. Is that political? I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, this is just a decision I'm making for myself. I finally got myself, like I had spoke before, I had Raynaud's. I had issues with my body. I finally got it into balance. Why would I put something toxic in there that we don't even know what it is, what it's going to do to us? And it was a decision I made. Now, later I found out that there were other people that thought like me, but I didn't do it because somebody told me not to do it. I did it because my heart and my inner knowing was telling me not to. And knowing a lot of the things that we know growing up and realizing things. But that's one of the things, like, I feel like people are going to be like, well, why didn't you tell us? We tried to tell you.
You can never tell something to someone who's not listening.
Yeah. It's true.
And people tend not to listen when they're afraid. They panic. And I remember reading about, as a high school kid, reading about the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
And some of the people that got executed were executed because they forced prisoners to take experimental medical procedures. Now, when you say you're mandating something, I could say I mandate that no one ever take another prescription drug the rest of their life. My mandate is as good as anybody else's mandate. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Because there's not a legislature that passed it. The Congress didn't pass it. The president didn't sign it. It's not a law. Therefore, no one can do anything punitive to you for not following my mandate. But if you're voluntarily following my mandate, you can say, well, I was mandated. Well, no, you volunteered.
Yeah.
And that's how these scumbags did this to you.
Yeah.
You volunteered to take everything that was in the shot, but you weren't allowed to know what it was.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Nuremberg Code, all 10 tenets of the Nuremberg Code were violated by the people who forced the mandates on people. And the Nuremberg Code violations come with two penalties, life and death. And they killed some of those nasty Nazis hung for what they did to mostly Jews, but some Christians in Germany and around Germany during the Second World War. We signed the Nuremberg Treaty, and it was signed by the president and approved by the Senate. So it's actually a U.S. law. So the people that forced the mandates actually violated law and could be punished for violating the law. That's how crooked things have gotten. Now, when people wake up to this, they're going to feel a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And I think it's important if we understand that they were snookered and it could happen to anybody. And that if it's time for the rest of us to be good friends and help them through their grief process. I talk to former soldiers all the time. I'm a former soldier. And we found out some of the things that we did to quote unquote help our country were really deep state operations that didn't help anybody except crooked politicians and their minions.
Pockets.
You know, my buddies in Delta Force, my buddies in SEAL Team 6, my buddies in Allied forces like the Australian and British Special Forces. You know, my Canadian friends. We all did things that, had we known that the presidents we served under were such crooks, we'd have never done it. But we didn't know that. We were snookered. We understand what it's like to be snookered. Honest mistakes, trying to do what's best. People took this thing trying to do what's best. We're not mad at you. We're here for you. We're your friends. And it doesn't matter how we knew. What matters is what your thought process is and what you're going to do about it in the future.
Right.
But I certainly think that because they've lied to you so badly like they did with the Tuskegee experiments and other things they've done, that they should never be trusted again.
Agreed. Yeah. I was looking something up, and this is a delta for today.
Okay.
Quarantine is when you restrict the movement of sick people. Tyranny is when you restrict the movement of healthy people.
Very absolutely true. And there's more than one way to restrict their movement. You can tell them they can't go outside. You can tell them there's a curfew. And you can tax them so much that they can't afford to go outside.
They had a ridiculous thing that everywhere you went, you had to have food. So you couldn't just go out and have a good time. You always had to have food in front of you. So I was like, well, why don't we just put some French fries in front of the kids and let them have the mask take off, you know? Like how does it know where we are? If we're in a restaurant or if we're in a school, like this is a very smart virus. And everybody's like, oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, oh my God, just think for a minute. Why can we have French fries in front of us, but we can't do this for the kids? And I would tell people, go outside and have a mask break. Every time you see one of your coworkers having a cigarette break, go take your mask off and go breathe. I was shadow banned from Facebook. I was on a restriction permanently until just recently it finally got lifted. But that's how I felt. I was trying to help people see the craziness of it. You know,
Well,
like walk in and sit down. If you're this height, you like, what is it? Like, what is it? Nothing was making sense to me. And all these people are following, like, I think here's where we're going to put in a little experiment right here. Hang on.
Ball. Oh, about. Hey.
Whether you're marching in formation like my friends here,
Oh.
or putting on a suit and tie to go to work, it pays to fit in with the crowd. But just how far will your brain go to be part of the team?
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Great, thanks so much.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
This sort of internalized form of herd behavior is part of what we call social learning. Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following in their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think right now.
They've went like mob mentality. They literally did everything she was doing. And by the end of the experiment, there were no actors left. They gave up their free will.
Yeah. They followed the crowd.
Yeah.
Now, one of my sisters, I have 5 younger sisters and a younger brother. I'm the oldest of 7. Wouldn't talk to me because she was vaxxed and she wanted to see her grandkids, and she was afraid that I would make her sick. And couldn't, even though she was a nurse, she couldn't process the fact that, well, if the vaccine worked, you could never get the virus.
Right.
The only person at risk, if the vaccine actually worked, was the person who didn't take the virus shot. But they had people so goofy with fear that they couldn't reason. And
By design.
by design, and this experiment proves that it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys see that, but by the end of the experiment, that all of those people were no longer actors. They were just giving up their free will and doing what the person in front of them did because they thought that's what they were supposed to do. It's such a crazy experiment, but that just shows you the herd mentality, and that just shows you just going with the flow. So, I saw somebody one time, this is so funny. They were at the mall and they're just standing there. They were standing behind a mannequin thinking that was a line.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing? That was years
You
ago.
know, you could have a lot of fun with this.
We have to make light of it because we lived through the worst hell that we ever could have lived through.
Can you
And
imagine if the actors would have all taken their shirts off, how strange it would have got?
well, they were all rolling up their sleeves with the fake needle and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, anywho. But
Anyway,
we're just crazy conspiracy theorists. Don't pay attention to us. We're fine.
no, wacko conservatives probably. But
Yeah.
seriously, we're all sovereign souls. We need to think for ourselves.
And I think that it's time. And I think that this whole movement showed people that, right? We are able to say, no, I'm not going to comply. And if enough of us do that, their game is over.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers has that song, I Won't Back Down. That needs to become a personal motto for almost everybody.
Maybe we'll put that at the end of this song, at the end of the show.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll do
Great
that.
song. It's a shame Tom isn't with us today because he was a great musician. You know, we are sovereign souls. We're men and women. We're all God's children. We're all equal. And respect is one of the most important things that we need to have for others, but we also need to have it for ourselves. An equal portion, respect ourselves and respect others. And that's why we can't let them do these kind of things to us, because they're just playing games and they don't care if they hurt us or they help us. If they hurt us, they're even happier hurting us than they are helping us. If you don't believe me, look at the tax structure. Look at all the screwy things going on. I mean, really, chemtrails aren't helping anybody. Fluoride in the water, oh, it's good for your teeth. Yeah.
That just came out. They finally just said it.
Yeah.
But again, conspiracy theorists.
Oh, yeah. But the people who, I remember this parable that I was taught. And I think it really applies. And it's a kind of a brain teaser after you think about it for a while. This little bird decides to fly away from the nest at night in a rain. And it gets lost and it falls. And it's cold outside and it's shivering to death. And this big cow comes along, sees it, takes pity on the bird, and poops on it. So the bird is up to its neck in cow pie. It's warm, but it stinks. So the bird starts chirping because it's mad and it can't get out. A wolf comes by, dusts it off, and eats it. The moral of the story is Not everybody that poops on you is your enemy, and not everybody that lifts you out of the poop is your friend. And I think this applies to what happened in 2020.
Absolutely. Yep. And we also have to remember, as much as we want to say, I told you so, hold it to yourself and then just give them grace.
Be the bigger person.
That's right. You can feel it inside. Like, I knew this, but don't make them feel any worse because they're already feeling this. So.
No, they're the ones whose bodies have gotten poisoned.
Yeah.
They need your help, not your condemnation.
Yeah. And prayers and praying, right? That they say, well, this is what happened to us. And again, this is just my opinion. However, this is what happened to you. Well, what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to say, here's some cures. This is what happened to you. Now go get fixed. That's my prayer. That's what I hope. Or somehow we can help people detox from all this. And my prayer is also that people are open enough to take that detox because it's all there now. There's a lot of protocols out there right now. So
yeah, you and I practice a couple of them. And it's the right thing to do. I mean, we have to be careful. We don't know what else they're trying to do to us. We know that we can't trust them.
Yeah.
We know that they take delight in hurting young children, and they take delight in causing misery and pain. And they have all sorts of really creative baloney excuses. And if you really look at them, they're really a bunch of low energy thieves. How someone could be a member of Congress for 20 years at $172,000 to $200,000 a year and have amassed, $100 million in total wealth, tells you that they do things for bribes. They do things for bribes, just like in chapter 3, verse 11 of Micah. They do things for bribes. And,
they used to be public servants. Now they're
now they're the political elite.
Yeah. I like to call them those who used to be. I don't give them power anymore.
Well, there's nothing elite about hurting a child. No. There's nothing elite about stealing money from widows and orphans and good people. There's nothing elite about saying one thing and doing another. There's nothing elite about meeting in the back room and sharing the money that you steal from people. And anyone who really thinks that these clowns are still elite is asleep.
Agreed. You have any last thoughts, Jim?
Well, let's review the 5 stages again. Denial and isolation.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been there.
Get around your buddies.
Anger. Well, I'm mad at you, God. How could you do this to me? When you will realize later that God did something wonderful for you. You just don't realize it yet. Oh, if you give me this back, I'll do this and this and this and a laundry list. You can make the list as long as the day is long, and it ain't going to change anything. When God makes up his mind, it's done. Then, I've wasted all this time and effort. I'm so tired. I feel like crap. That's depression. And then you wake up and you realize that it's time to get on with the rest of your life. So you accept what happens, learn the lessons you're supposed to learn from it, and move forward. We all go through this, and we all go back and forth. And every once in a while, even though it's been 4 years, I'll catch myself missing my late wife and fighting the tears. Hey, I'm a human being. Some people may not believe that after this podcast, but I'm a human being. And we're all human beings. And we all have points where we break. That's okay. we break, God puts us back together. We retie our boots and soldier on. It's just the way to do things, because we don't know what's around the corner. And there might be something so wonderful around the corner that if we get through this process, we might have the most wonderful thing happen to us. But if we don't get through this process, we'll never know. And if one of my friends or loved ones is going through this process, the best friend I can be is to validate their feelings. And there are going to be people who are hurt and upset about all the evil that they find out our government did, all the evil that they find out what the churches have done. And I'm not just talking one church. A lot of them have been doing some really bad things. Now, the churches are organizations. They really have nothing to do in many respects with Almighty God. Well, how could you say that? Well, I'm a bishop in the underground Orthodox Church, and I'm telling you that a lot of the churches, read it in your Bible, read about the last 4 books in the Bible. 2 of them are terrible. 1 is mediocre, and 1 is great. The Church of Philadelphia is great. The Church of Thyatira, the people are great. The church sucks. The Church of Laodicea, that's a total disaster. The Church of Sardis, well, we all believe. We don't do anything, but we all believe. Well, that's lazy. Good works and good belief, and we're not saved by our good works, but our good works show the character of our belief and the character that we have. And that's why the Church of Philadelphia doesn't go through all the hard times in the last book. And, find your Church of Philadelphia and help your brother and sister when they're going through this process. Understand the process. And understand, those of you who are going through this process, it's not the end of the world. It's just it's the end of one stage of your life and the beginning of the next stage. And for a reason that you won't know in this world, it's important for you to get on to the next stage. Don't skip anything. Go through the process. Go through it with grounding and meditation and prayer and taking good care of your body. And then when it's time to move on, you'll be in much better shape to conquer the next hill. And that's the best we can do. And your good friends will help you, and your bad friends will criticize you. And when you know the difference, and if you get through the process with 1 or 2 good friends, you're a rich man or woman.
Agreed. Well, thank you for that, Jim. That was wonderful. Just want to thank everybody for joining us. And we're going to be opening up the Telegram chat if anybody wants to talk with us after. And it's back-to-light_4408. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in there, and love that community and just building such a beautiful network of beautiful souls that are all helping. And we go in there and we share our love and our light and our experiences, and we help each other through these times. So thank you everyone for being with us. Appreciate it. And thank you to our mods. You guys are amazing, and all the people that are in the back, Mark and everybody that's helping put this show together. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys. And if you want to get a hold of me, if you go to rumble.com/C, letter C like in Charlie, /the grace of God, you'll find my channel.
Beautiful channel.
Oh, thank
We'll
you.
also have it in the description.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kat.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys next time on Back to Light.
And thank you, Kat.
Oh, you're welcome. Much love.
Much love. Bye-bye.
To live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again.
It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to